Change is not some mysterious force that shows up uninvited. Change is the result of daily disciplines. Little things done every day that lead to big results. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You just need to start right where you are with what you have. Because the truth is, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every single day. Feed your mind daily. Your life will never rise higher than the level of your thinking. It's a fundamental truth. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your decisions, your emotions, and ultimately, your destiny. Yet most people go through life with minds filled not by intention, but by accident. They absorb whatever the world throws at them. News, headlines, social media noise, negative opinions from others, and then wonder why they feel stuck, overwhelmed, anxious, or uninspired. But your mind is not a trash bin, it's a garden, and just like a garden, it grows what you plant. If you plant weeds, fear, doubt, excuses, then weeds are exactly what you get. But if you plant seeds of courage, discipline, clarity, and truth, your mind becomes fertile ground for greatness. Every single day, you must make the decision to feed your mind. Not once in a while, not when it's convenient, daily. It has to become as routine as brushing your teeth or eating your meals, because whether you realize it or not, your mind is always being fed. The only question is, what are you feeding it? If you don't take control of the input, you give power to the chaos around you. And if you let the wrong things in, negativity, laziness, entitlement, they will eventually shape the way you see yourself and the way you show up in life. Reading is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to feed your mind. Books are not just ink on paper, they are concentrated experiences. A book gives you access to decades of someone's wisdom, failures, breakthroughs, and knowledge, all distilled into a few hours of reading. You can read the mind of a philosopher, an entrepreneur, a leader, a survivor, and walk away with a clearer view of the world and yourself. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Someone has already faced the challenge you're dealing with, and they wrote it down. That's a gift. That's leverage. And it's available to you every single day. But don't stop at books. Audio is powerful too. Podcasts, audiobooks, motivational talks. These are ways to transform idle time into growth time. The commute to work becomes a classroom. The morning walk becomes a seminar. The quiet moment before bed becomes a place for breakthroughs. You start to saturate your mind with new vocabulary, empowering thoughts, stories of victory, and strategies that rewire your thinking. You begin to shift the narrative that runs through your head. The voice that once whispered, "I can't," now starts to say, "What if I could?" Feeding your mind daily builds momentum. It creates an internal environment of possibility. You begin to connect dots you couldn't see before. You start asking better questions. You start challenging your old assumptions. And slowly, quietly, without fireworks or fanfare, your identity starts to change. You no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstance, but as an architect of your own reality. That shift right there is the seed of all transformation. But this isn't about becoming some robotic productivity machine. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. Even 15 minutes a day adds up. That's over 90 hours a year. That's more time than most people spend on their own personal growth in a decade. You don't need to read a book a week or listen to 5 hours of audio daily. You just need consistency. Intentional, focused time where you decide, I will nourish my mind. I will sharpen my perspective. I will not leave my mental state to chance. Because here's the truth. The world is full of distractions. And most of them don't want you to think for yourself. They want you passive. They want you reactive. They want you scrolling endlessly through nonsense, numbing your dreams and dulling your drive. But when you start feeding your mind with purpose, you become dangerous. You become clear, focused, awake. You stop chasing trends and start pursuing meaning. You stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline. And when your mind is strong, nothing can enslave you. Not the opinions of others, not fear of failure. not the weight of your past. The person you want to become is waiting on the other side of new ideas, deeper insight and better thinking. And better thinking doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. It happens when you wake up and say, today I will feed my mind with something that grows me. Because a mind stretched by new wisdom can never return to its old dimensions. Once you see truth, you can't unsee it. Once you learn, you can't unlearn. Once you grow, you can't shrink. So the question is not, do I have time? The real question is, can I afford not to? Your thoughts create your beliefs shape your behavior, and your behavior defines your life. Feed your mind daily, and everything else will follow. Because you don't get the life you want, you get the life your mind is trained to expect. Your body is not just a physical form, it's your foundation. It carries your emotions, it reflects your decisions, and it holds the energy that drives your purpose. The way you treat it says everything about how you show up in the world. When you move your body, you aren't just burning calories, you're building self-respect. You're saying, I matter, my health matters, my energy matters. And that's a powerful message to send to yourself first thing in the morning. We live in a time where motion has been replaced by convenience, elevators instead of stairs, screens instead of sunlight. Comfort has become the new addiction. But what we don't always realize is that comfort comes at a cost. A sedentary lifestyle may feel easy in the moment, but over time it becomes heavy. It weighs on your energy, your confidence, your mental clarity. It dulls the edge that makes you feel alive. Burman is not just about aesthetics. It's not about chasing a perfect image in the mirror. It's about reclaiming control. It's about developing grit. It's about tapping into a part of yourself that's been dormant, waiting for you to remember that you were made for strength, not stagnation. When you move with intention, whether it's lifting weights, walking outside, stretching, running, dancing, you connect with your own power again. You remind yourself that you are capable of more than just enduring life. You were built to engage with it fully. There is something deeply psychological about physical discipline. When you push through a tough workout or force yourself to move, even when your mind tells you to stay in bed, you win a battle that echoes far beyond the gym or the trail. You train your will. You sharpen your discipline. You build a relationship with discomfort that serves you in every other part of your life. Because if you can face resistance in your body, you'll face less resistance in your choices. You'll be more likely to make the hard call, have the honest conversation, take the courageous step, because your identity will be rooted in resilience, not in retreat. Your body and your mind are not separate. They are deeply interconnected. Physical activity triggers the release of endorphins, the feel-good chemicals that combat stress, elevate mood, and improve focus. That's not just science, that's self-mastery. If you're feeling anxious, stuck, or uninspired, try this. Don't just sit there, move. Watch how quickly your physiology changes your psychology. Watch how momentum in your limbs becomes momentum in your thought. It's not magic, it's alignment. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't need to train for a marathon. You just need to move every day with purpose. It could be 10 minutes of walking with deep breaths. It could be stretching your body while listening to music that lifts your spirit. It could be dancing in your living room or doing push-ups in between emails. It's not about the message, and that message is simple. I will not abandon myself. Movement also brings you back into the present. In a world that constantly pulls your attention in 1,000 directions, moving your body anchors you. You become more aware, more grounded. You start to inhabit your own life again instead of drifting through it. You become less reactive and more intentional. Because you've practiced control over something as fundamental as your body. That control translates into better choices, better habits, and a better relationship with yourself. People often wait to feel motivated before they move, but motivation is not the cause of movement, it's the result of it. Once you start, your body wakes up, your energy rises, your mindset shifts. So don't wait to feel ready. Move first, intentionally, consistently, because every time you choose to move your body, you're choosing to move your life forward, one intentional step at a time. Most people don't live their lives, they survive their days. They wake up, grab their phones, scroll through distractions, respond to the world's demands before they've even checked in with themselves. And then they wonder why life feels out of control, why anxiety lingers, why nothing seems to change no matter how hard they try. But the problem isn't effort, it's direction. You can row with all your might, but if you're not steering the boat, you'll just move in circles. This is why setting clear intentions for the day isn't just helpful, it's essential. Clarity is the first step to power. You can't hit a target you don't define. You can't pursue what you haven't decided matters. Each morning is a blank canvas. What you write on it determines your experience, your energy, and your progress. When you begin your day with intention, you reclaim ownership. You stop drifting and start designing. You stop reacting to life and begin creating it. An intention is not a to-do list, it's deeper than that. It's a commitment to who you're choosing to be. It's not just, I have a meeting today. It's, I will lead that meeting with clarity and confidence. It's not, I need to finish this project. It's, I will show up to this task with focus, excellence, and care. Your intention speaks to your identity. It answers the question, what kind of person do I want to be when the day ends? Imagine walking into a crowded room with no sense of purpose. You'd feel lost, distracted, overwhelmed. But if you walk in knowing exactly why you're there, you move differently, you listen better, you speak with purpose, you notice what others miss. The same is true for your day. When you define your intention, your behavior aligns, your attention sharpens. You become someone who is not just going through the motions, but moving through life with deliberate energy. Setting intentions also shifts your relationship with time. Most people feel like they don't have enough time, not because they actually lack it, but because they waste so much of it on tasks that don't matter. When you don't decide what matters most, everything feels urgent, everything feels like pressure. But when you begin your day with a simple question, what is my highest priority today? You gain control. You strip away the noise. You focus your energy on what will truly move you forward. There's a deep emotional shift that comes with living intentionally. You begin to feel more grounded, more certain, even when things around you are uncertain. Life may still throw curveballs, but you're not as easily rattled because you started your day with clarity. You reminded yourself of your values. You committed to showing up with purpose. And that kind of inner alignment gives you a sense of peace that can't be shaken by circumstances. Intentions also build consistency. You don't need to make massive changes overnight, but imagine if every morning for the next year, you asked yourself 3 simple questions. What matters most today? Who do I choose to be? How do I want to feel at the end of this day? Do that consistently and your life will begin to change in powerful ways. You'll begin to notice patterns. You'll start letting go of distractions that once drained you. You'll stop saying yes to things that no longer align with your purpose. That's not coincidence. That's clarity at work. And clarity compounds. Each day you set a new intention, you move one step closer to becoming the person you were meant to be. One focused day leads to another. One intentional decision leads to better habits. Better habits lead to breakthroughs. You don't just perform better, you feel better, you communicate better, because your life is no longer running on autopilot. It's being guided daily by your own internal compass. In a world obsessed with what's next, what's missing, and what's wrong, gratitude is a rebellion. It's a powerful, deliberate act of awareness. And it's not something that just happens to you, it's something you choose. Practicing gratitude consciously means refusing to live as a prisoner of dissatisfaction. It means saying, I may not have everything I want, but I have more than I once believed possible. It means taking your focus off what's lacking and putting it firmly on what's already working, because if you only ever chase the next thing, you'll never appreciate this thing. And without appreciation, even a life of abundance will feel empty. Gratitude is more than a feeling, it's a state of being. It's not about denying struggle or pretending everything is perfect. It's about learning to see clearly in spite of the chaos. It's training your mind to recognize the quiet victories, the ones we often overlook, like the fact that you woke up today, the fact that someone somewhere cares about you, the fact that you've overcome things you once thought would break you. Gratitude brings those truths back into focus. It's the lens that helps you see through pain without being defined by it. When you practice gratitude with intention, you shift your emotional baseline. You become less reactive, less entitled, less envious. You start to realize how much beauty exists in what others consider ordinary. A warm cup of coffee, a good conversation, a moment of silence, a breath taken without pain. These things become rich, they become meaningful. And when you treat them with reverence, life stops being something you survive and starts being something you savor. The real power of gratitude is that it breaks the cycle of scarcity thinking, that voice in your head that whispers, you're not enough, or you don't have enough. Gratitude silences it. It reminds you that worth isn't measured in things or achievements. It's measured in perspective. You can have everything and still feel empty if you forget to be grateful, but you can have very little and feel rich if you know how to appreciate what you do have. This isn't about settling, it's about anchoring, because a grateful person can still be hungry for growth. They just aren't driven by fear or comparison. Gratitude also connects you to people. It builds bridges. It softens the walls we put up when life gets hard. Saying thank you isn't just polite, it's powerful. It acknowledges effort. It validates presence. It brings light into moments that might otherwise be heavy. And when you express gratitude toward others, you elevate them too. You remind them that they matter, that what they do is seen, that who they are makes a difference. That kind of acknowledgement creates energy that no paycheck or trophy can match. But to access all of this, gratitude must be practiced consciously. It won't grow by accident. It requires time, space, reflection. That might mean journaling 3 things you're grateful for every morning, or taking 60 seconds before bed to say thank you for the lessons, for the wins, for the strength to endure. It could mean writing a note, making a call, offering a compliment, simple acts that turn thankfulness into transformation. You can't always change your situation, but you can always change your state. And gratitude is the switch that flips the darkness into light. Life will always offer reasons to complain. Challenges will keep coming. Loss will still hurt. But gratitude gives you an anchor. It's not about ignoring the storm, it's about finding something steady within it. When you build that habit of thankfulness, you train your mind to scan for the good, to find the lesson, to seek the gift. That mental discipline rewires your emotional response. You become calm, more present, more joyful, not because life is easy, but because your heart is awake. Most people begin their day avoiding discomfort. They reach for ease, for routine, for what feels safe. But comfort, especially first thing in the morning, is a trap dressed up as peace. It lulls you into passivity. It whispers, you can do it later, you've got time. And before you know it, the day has slipped through your fingers. Momentum is lost, focus is scattered, and once again, what mattered most has been buried under what was easiest. But there's a simple, powerful practice that separates the average from the exceptional. Do one difficult thing early. That one act of courage, that one moment of resistance met and conquered, can change the entire direction of your day. Why? Because it creates a shift in identity. It tells your brain, I don't wait for motivation, I take action. It's a statement to the world and to yourself that says you are not here to drift, you are here to drive. Think about it. How many times have you let a small but difficult task dominate your mental space for hours, sometimes days? A hard conversation you're putting off, a workout you've been avoiding, a decision you need to make but keep postponing. The task itself rarely takes as much energy as the avoidance of it. When you delay the difficult, you don't buy freedom, you rent anxiety. But when you do it early, when you lean into it before the sun is high and the world starts demanding your attention, you reclaim your power. Doing something difficult early isn't about punishment, it's about practice. It's how you train your mind to push through resistance. Not just building discipline, you're building resilience. Each time you face discomfort head on, you get stronger. Your confidence grows. Your self-trust deepens. You stop fearing the mountain and start respecting the climb. And there's something unshakable about a person who knows they can face the hard things and keep moving forward. This doesn't mean you need to overhaul your entire life before breakfast. It means you pick one thing, just one, that challenges you, something that requires effort, something you've been resisting. It could be writing a page for that book you've been dreaming about. It could be a cold shower to shock your comfort zone. It could be setting boundaries with someone who's been draining your energy. It could be waking up at 5 a.m. and going for a run when your body says, stay in bed. The task itself is not the victory, the decision is. And what happens next is almost magical. You build momentum. You feel proud before the rest of the world has even started. You walk into the rest of your day with a different posture, a different energy. You're not chasing wins, you've already earned one. That early win rewires your mind to believe, if I did that, what else can I do? That's not just motivation, that's identity change. Because when you consistently choose discomfort over delay, difficulty over denial, you begin to shift who you are at the core. You become someone who doesn't fold under pressure. Someone who doesn't need ideal conditions to take action. Someone who moves even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient. And the world takes notice. You start to separate yourself, not by talent or luck, but by how early you're willing to do what others avoid. There's a cost to avoiding the hard things, but there's also a reward for meeting them. That reward isn't just in the result. It's in who you become in the process. You build grit. You sharpen focus. You raise your threshold for adversity. And that strength, that mindset follows you. Shows up in your relationships, in your career, and how you handle setbacks. Because the person who confronts one difficult thing each morning becomes the person who can handle anything that shows up in the afternoon. Your mind is the soil where every decision, every emotion, every result takes root. And just like any soil, what you plant in it determines what you harvest. Yet most people leave that soil unguarded, exposed to the winds of random input. Social media, gossip, news cycles filled with fear and outrage. They scroll, consume, react, and wonder why they feel anxious, unmotivated, disconnected. But the truth is simple. If you feed your mind with junk, don't expect it to produce clarity. Don't expect strength when you've only ingested noise. It's why feeding your mind with wisdom is not a suggestion, it's a daily requirement if you want to grow. Wisdom is nourishment. It doesn't just inform you, it transforms you. It gives your mind roots so it doesn't blow over in the face of challenges. It gives your heart anchor when the world gets chaotic. It guides your actions when emotions run high. But like all nourishment, it must be consumed regularly. Not once a month, not only when you feel lost. Every single day you need something richer than entertainment, something that speaks to the deeper part of you, the part that craves truth, meaning, and perspective. Wisdom is everywhere, but it must be chosen. It's in books written decades ago that still speak louder than most of what's trending today. It's in podcasts that stretch your thinking. It's in the quiet reflection after a deep conversation. It's in writing that challenges you to rise higher. But you have to go find it. You have to make time for it. You have to treat your mind like sacred ground, because it is. And here's what happens when you do. Your inner world changes. And when your inner world changes, your outer world starts to follow. You don't fall for the same traps. You don't chase the same empty goals. You stop being reactive and start being responsive, because wisdom doesn't just tell you what to think. It teaches you how to think. It doesn't just offer you answers. It trains you to ask better questions. A person who feeds on wisdom becomes dangerous in the best way. They become immune to manipulation. They aren't swayed by popular opinion. They don't crumble under pressure because they've built something solid inside, and that solidity becomes a force. It shows up in how they speak, how they lead, how they navigate difficulty. They're the calm in the storm. They're the ones others turn to, not because they have all the answers, but because they're grounded in something deeper than impulse. The most successful, fulfilled, and resilient people you'll ever meet are those who've made feeding their mind a non-negotiable habit. They don't just read books, they devour them. They don't just listen to content, they absorb, reflect, apply. They don't just seek information, they seek insight. And over time, that input becomes identity. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily, consistently, like water shaping stone. And it's not about being perfect or scholarly. It's not about sounding wise. It's about becoming wise. It's about replacing confusion with clarity, fear with understanding, and arrogance with humility. It's about recognizing that growth isn't something that happens to you. It's something you must participate in. And that participation begins with what you choose to consume each morning, each evening, each quiet moment in between. You don't get strong by accident. You get strong by feeding on what makes you stronger. And wisdom, real, timeless wisdom, feeds your courage, sharpens your discipline, expands your compassion. It reminds you who you are and who you're becoming. So if you want a better life, a better mindset, a better future, it doesn't start with doing more. It starts with thinking better, and that begins by choosing carefully what you allow to enter the gates of your mind. The day ends, the world gets quiet, and your body begins to slow down, but your mind doesn't always follow. For many, night is when the noise gets louder. Regrets echo. Unfinished tasks press in. Doubts creep through the cracks. You lay in bed, eyes wide open, replaying conversations, decisions, distractions. But it doesn't have to be that way. The key is simple, powerful, and often overlooked. Reflect before you sleep, not casually, not once in a while, consciously, deliberately, with the intention of growth. Reflection isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. It's not about beating yourself up for the mistakes you made or the things you didn't do. It's about understanding where your time went, where your energy was spent, and what your heart truly felt. Because if you don't pause to review the days start blurring together. Time becomes a blur. Progress becomes random, and lessons go unnoticed. But when you stop, breathe, and ask yourself, what did I do today that mattered? You wake up to your own life. This practice doesn't require hours, just 5 or 10 minutes of stillness and honesty. No distractions, no noise, just you and your thoughts face to face. It's a ritual of accountability, not to the world, but to yourself. What did I give my best to today? Where did I hold back? Who did I encourage? Who did I ignore? What did I avoid that needed my courage? These questions are like mirrors. They reveal not just what you did, but who you are becoming. And that self-awareness is everything. Because here's the truth. People don't fall off track all at once. They drift. Slowly. A skipped workout. A missed promise. A compromise made in silence and without reflection. The drift becomes invisible. But when you reflect, you catch the drift. You become aware of the small cracks before they become breaks. You notice patterns. You see where you're growing and where you're still hiding. And from that awareness comes the power to realign. Reflection also deepens gratitude. So many moments go by unnoticed until we slow down to see them. That one kind word someone gave you, the smile from a stranger, the challenge you overcame without even realizing how strong you were. Reflection is how we keep from sleepwalking through blessings. It's how we stop measuring our day by productivity and start measuring it by presence. And that shift brings peace. Not the fleeting kind that comes from escape, but the rooted kind that comes from understanding. It also prepares your mind for rest. Instead of carrying unresolved tension into sleep, you bring closure to your day. You say to yourself, this was today. I see it, I accept it, and I will learn from it. That kind of mental clearing sets the stage for deeper sleep, better dreams, and a more focused morning. Because when the day ends with intention, the next day begins with direction. And perhaps most importantly, nightly reflection keeps you humble. It reminds you that no matter how much you achieve, you're still a work in progress. It invites you to course correct with compassion, to celebrate without arrogance, to grow without shame. You begin to see each day not as something to endure or escape, but as something sacred, a classroom, a journey, a gift. Imagine the difference it would make if every night you took a few minutes to reconnect with your values, your goals, your truth. Not scrolling, not distracting, but just sitting with yourself and asking, did I live today on purpose? That one question, answered honestly, can begin to change everything because it moves you from unconscious living to intentional growth. And that shift done daily becomes transformational. And that, my friend, is how lives are changed, not in a dramatic moment, not in a flash of glory, but in the quiet, consistent choices made each and every day. You don't need a miracle. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a daily rhythm, a standard that refuses to let you live on autopilot. Wake up with intention, not by accident. Own your morning before the world steals it. Protect your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. Move your body, not just for the sake of fitness, but to remind yourself that you are alive and capable. Do one difficult thing early, not to prove something to the world, but to prove something to yourself. Feed your mind with wisdom, not noise, so you can rise above confusion and make decisions from strength, not fear. Reflect before you sleep, not to shame yourself, but to awaken yourself. These aren't habits. These are declarations. Declarations that say, I will not waste this life. I will not live beneath my potential. I will not hand over my peace to chaos or my purpose to distraction. You do these 5 things every day and you won't just change your schedule, you'll change your character. You'll become someone others admire, yes, but more importantly, you'll become someone you admire. And when that happens, the world around you begins to shift, not because it changed, but because you did. It starts with today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when life is easier, today. That's your power, that's your moment. And if you make it count, life begins to move in your favor. So choose discipline over delay, purpose over comfort, and growth over stagnation. You've got one life. Build it like it matters, because it does.